so much, everyone who was involved in that. It was just beautiful. And now we'll welcome Judee for her message.
Everybody sang so well. Good job, guys.
I love that. I'm sorry to have missed it. I was out of town. But I hear there's a video coming. Good morning, everyone. Today's the third Sunday in Lent. And Lent is more than just preparing ourselves for Easter. Lent is an invitation to us to transform ourselves through raising our consciousness and continually choosing love, which I talked about the choosing love last month when I was here. Unity's theme for Lent is release and imagine. How many people are using this booklet? Few, yeah, I like it. I always love to get their booklets every time. But we're in a major transformation on the planet where the old 3D ways of being and doing and living are being falling away or being destroyed. And yet, the new things to replace it, to take us up to the higher vibrations of the fifth dimension, aren't all visible yet, you know? Not all visible yet. We're in a gap period where we experience a lot of uncertainty. And we witness things and organizations and ways of being representing the old way, and no longer for our good. We see them falling apart. Yet much is happening in the invisible and behind the scenes that will be revealed all in good time. And you know us humans, we like now, you know? We want to see it now. But it's going to take a little time, so it's going to see how good we are at keeping the faith when we're going through this gap period. And we see many doors closing before new doors are ready to open. We're living in the mystery whether we like it or not. And what I like to do, living in the mystery, is fall back on this first principle, Unity's first spiritual principle here. There's only one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives, a power for good. And guess what? That power is God. God is good. God is behind the mystery. God is the mystery. And therefore, all is well, and it's all good, despite any appearances to the contrary. We're getting a lot of appearances now, aren't we? Don't let them fool you. Each of our lives is shaped by the stories we tell ourselves. By the stories we tell ourselves. Some of those stories empower us. Some of them quietly limit us. Some of them scare us. We scare ourselves sometimes. Silly us. But this morning we'll explore how our spiritual power of imagination shapes our reality, for better or worse. And you get to choose. You get to choose how you use your imagination. When we release outdated narratives and beliefs and consciously reimagine what we want to see in their place instead, through the lens of divine love, we step into a new chapter. A new chapter. One written not by doubt and fear, but written by faith and love. We're almost always imagining something. Almost always. The question is, are we imagining based on our fears or based on our faith in positive possibilities for our good? We misuse the power of imagination by replaying negative experiences from our past. I did some of that this week. Remembering old wounds, predicting limitation or failure, or I'll say this word right, catastrophizing, imagining worst case scenarios. We can reclaim imagination as the sacred tool that it is. When we release error thinking and consciously reimagine what we want to experience, we begin to rewrite the inner movies of our lives. And when the inner story changes, guess what? Everything changes. So what's your inner story? And misuse of our imagination can trap us in fear-based thinking. And imagination can be one of our greatest spiritual gifts. So how are you going to see it? One of our greatest spiritual gifts. By releasing error thinking and the mental habits that no longer serve us and intentionally imagining what we want, the experiences in life we desire, we step into our roles as co-creators with the divine. Co-creators with the divine. I have some beliefs and techniques that I use to support myself with whatever is going on, but especially now in this gap period where so many appearances can be scary. So I have these that I use, and I'm going to share a few of them with you because there are many. And if they work for me, they can work for you. The first one is, again, the umbrella affirmation, I think, is this one that I use. If we just stick with that, we've got it. But it's a big one, you know, and sometimes we use some stepping stones to get there. There is only one presence and one power active as the universe and in my life, power for good. And God is that power. God is that power. The second one is what Jesus taught, judge not by appearances. And our power for this month, wisdom. We can use our divine wisdom to help us discern the truth behind the appearances. Number 3, this too shall pass. I like to use that one. This too shall pass. It reminds me of the impermanence of life. Everything is going to pass. Buddhist teachings state that all conditioned things, I had to look that up, all conditioned things, which means things that depend on other things for their existence, including physical bodies, thoughts, and emotions, are in a constant state of flux and change. I mean, change is what life is about, right? Constant state of flux and change. Life is seen as a flowing process rather than a static one, emphasizing that suffering arises from clinging to that which cannot remain. We cause ourselves to suffer. So whether it's what we call what we don't want or what we do want, don't cling to what you do want because know that something even better is probably coming. Number 4. In a way, Buddhism says don't cling to what is passing. Unity would add, release it, and imagine what you want to grow in its place. 4, focus your attention on what you want, not on what you don't want. Energy flows where attention goes. And this is something that if you simply become more aware of it and catch yourself every time you're thinking or talking or telling a story about what you don't want, you're just adding to it. Your attention acts like a spotlight, and it empowers and gives energy to and expands whatever you focus it on. So you want to focus it on what you want, right? On the good that you want to experience, the life you want. And I want to remind you, when I do my talks, I have certain meanings I use specific meanings for positive and negative. Positive meaning focusing on what you want, and negative meaning on what you don't want. So that's how I'm using it, not as good or bad or right or wrong or anything like that. but consciously releasing focus from your doubts and worries, and instead focusing on what you want to experience changes your emotional state, changes your behavior, and therefore it changes the results you get. It's all about us inside, what we're thinking, to change the outside. That's where we make the change here, and then it happens out here. And I want to share with you, just to show you how this works, an example of something that happened to me quite a few years ago when I was first learning this. I had recently left my job at the Florida Department of Education, 7 years short of full retirement. A lot of people said I was crazy, and that didn't bother me. I'm a little wild and crazy, yeah. But it was taking me a while to bring in close to the income I was making when I worked for the state, but I was so grateful that my spirit really had me quit that job. And now I say I graduated from that job. It's not that I quit it, I graduated from it. But a close friend at the time said she was going to a retreat in Hawaii that was led by a teacher we both knew and loved. And I thought, well, good for you, that's really nice. But I didn't have the funds to do that. And so I didn't put any more attention on it. Silly me. Took me a few days to wake up to the fact. And I really wanted to go. I would have loved to have gone, but I didn't want to build that up because I wouldn't be disappointed. And I thought, wait, I put a tight lid on my desire. So instead, I took that lid off, let that desire flow, created a vision board, started imagining me at the retreat in Hawaii with my friend, having a lot of fun, and then thanking God in advance. And you know what? Oh, and I also asked God to inspire me to any action I was to take, if there was action for me to take. And I didn't have to take any action except simply what I just told you, letting my desire come up and focusing on and imagining what I wanted, the good feeling. Because the first thing that happened was I had recently filed my income tax return, and I was going to get a small refund. And when the check came in the mail, it was $500 over what my refund was expected to be, and I had a CPA do it. Now, what are the chances, And then the second thing that happened was the Department of Education invited me back to do a contract work by facilitating a program that I had gotten the Department of Education to agree to buy. It was a video program. It was taught the psychological explanation of how affirmations and visualization work. So it was all about that. And so the money I got from that, added to my extra $500, paid for all my expenses, the airline, the hotel, the food, and getting to Hawaii. So that's how that works. And that was when I was just first started getting into that. I just had to share that story with you. But it all happened because I released the doubt, allowed my desire to come up, and then focused my attention on what I wanted with gratitude, as if I had it already. And the fifth thing is only those who can see the invisible can do the impossible. I saw that on a high school bulletin board when I was still working for the Department of Education, and I was visiting a school district. And that was shortly before I graduated myself from my job. And so I don't know if that little quote helped me move to that graduation or not, but when we use our imagination, we can see the invisible in our mind's eye. We're seeing the invisible. And the sixth is another from Jesus' teachings. With God, all things are possible. And that's just a reminder to me that if there's anything I want to do or be, I check with God within, contact God within. In unity, we all know that we have God within each of us, God energy within each of us. And I check in for guidance on that, especially when there's something that I want to do that seems impossible. Like years ago, I wanted to do a firewalk because I sure thought it seemed impossible to do that without burning your feet. Yet several members of Unity of Tallahassee went up to Georgia and did that. So I had to do it. And I did it many, many, many times and became a firewalk tender, along with Morgan Patterson. So those are just some of the beliefs and techniques that I use. But I encourage you to use some of them to get you through the gap period and beyond. You can use them to support you in shifting your beliefs and changing where you put your attention when you're telling yourself a story that scares you or limits you. But begin by looking at your negative story beliefs and ask yourself, what do I want to see or experience instead of this? And you can come up with a lot of different things you want to see or experience. Tell the negative beliefs that you release them now. I release you. Thank you for any ways that you served me, but you're no longer for my good. I release you. And then pay no more attention to them. That's the key. Pay no more attention to them. Put your attention on what you want instead. Write down your new positive story. Speak it aloud. Maybe record it and listen to it a few times. Make a vision board if you're so inspired. And use your imagination to feel how you know you would feel once it materializes. Because you know how you're going to feel. Excited, happy, grateful, joyous. All kinds of feelings. Just bring them back into your body. And then years ago, Abraham Hicks taught me to play the positive what-if game. We're all good at negative what-ifs, right? Yeah. I learned to play the positive what-if game. And I'm also a member of the What If Up Facebook group, which practices what they call what if upping. What if upping, that's a lot of fun. So instead of saying, what if all goes wrong, you release that and you reimagine by asking the new question, what if it all goes right? What if it all goes right? And I have one more story to tell you about when I was still new at this positive what if up game. What if game, I get that in there. It was a time when I was paying too much attention to lacking the money I wanted and needed. I was paying too much attention to that. I was forgetting. So I shifted my attention to positive possibilities. They didn't have to make sense. They didn't have to be plausible. In this game, you let your imagination run wild and have fun with it. As Abraham says, life is supposed to be fun. But here are a few positive what-ifs I came up with. What if a relative I don't even know, didn't even know, died and left me a huge sum of money? You notice I put in that I didn't even know because I didn't want one I knew to die because I might have caused that, right? Or I would miss them. But if it's one I didn't even know I had, I wouldn't miss them because I didn't know what they looked like. And I enjoy the money. And then what if I give such good service that people pay me more than I asked for? And that didn't happen right away, but I tell you what, it happens in my life now. And here's another one. What if a plane with criminals in it, drug dealers, was flying over where I was hiking in the woods? And they had to throw this suitcase of money out because somebody was going to wait for them to meet them at the airport, and they didn't want to be caught with that. And I put myself in the woods because I didn't want them to drop it in my backyard because they might come and try to find me, But if I was out walking in the woods, they wouldn't even know anything about that. So. And then what if I win big in the lottery? That's a pretty common one for people. And then what if I go for a walk in the woods and I stumble over something that my toe bumped and sticking out of the ground? And I look down and it looks like the corner of a box, and I get a big stick and start digging it up, and sure enough, it's a metal box full of old, valuable coins. So those are some of the things I played with. But I'll stop right there. You can see I was wanting to have fun with imagining all these kind of positive what if ups. And guess what I read in the paper within 6 months? I don't know if any of you remember this, but in 2013, a couple living in Northern California was out walking their dog in the woods on their property when they came across something and stubbed their toe, and it was a jar with a metal lid, and they dug it up, and it had gold coins in it. And then they went back and got a shovel and dug some more, and they found 8 jars containing 1,427 gold coins dating from 1847 to 1894. The coins had a face value of almost $28,000, but collectors valued them at around $10 million. Experts say they never knew how those got there. Theories range from a cautious gold rush era saver to hidden loot from robberies. So that was proof that my last what if was actually not that outrageous, was it? Or outlandish. So I say, let your imagination go wild. Now I do want to say that this hasn't happened to me yet. Now what do I do when I put yet on the end of that? Exactly. Shows you I still believe it. It's just a matter of time. And I got a few more years left in me, so who knows? But I took that as Spirit's message to me to let my imagination continue to run wild. Because anything is possible. Anything is possible. With God, all things are possible. And when I imagine my new positive stories, I add at the end, thank you, God, for this or something even better than I can now imagine. That opens it up for so much more that my imagination couldn't even reach to yet. Now I want to talk about resistance. A big thing that would be so valuable to keep releasing. Resistance. In order to be able to go with the flow of life. Where these things kind of happen. The out of the blue things. And resistance comes from fear. It's the mind trying to control life instead of trusting the flow of life or trusting the process of life. Trying to control it. We want it our way. We know best. That's the human speaking. And when we resist what is happening, we tighten up, we struggle, we suffer. Yet when we release resistance, something positive always happens, even what some would call a miracle. We begin to see we relax, we open up, we begin to see possibilities that we could not see before. And that is when imagination again becomes our ally. Imagination isn't just about dreaming. It's about seeing beyond appearances, seeing the invisible, and seeing possibilities before they materialize. Every invention, every breakthrough, every healing, every movement for good began with somebody imagining something that was not yet in existence. Came right out of imagination. Or by asking God for something even better than you can imagine. And I call that the grace of God. Those things, those the out of the blue things that come to us. So the question isn't whether you're imagining, because you already are. The question is, what story are you imagining about yourself or about your life? Is it a story shaped by doubt and fear? Or is this story shaped by faith and love? Again, we get to choose. And the moment you release an old story that is not for your good, it opens up the space for a new positive story to come into your life. And that is what Lent invites us to do. To release, to reimagine. And if you don't have this little booklet that I showed you, you can go to Judee.org and get a digital copy online for free. There's some
There's some in the back.
someone back on the table, okay. But it has daily readings for every day in Lent. The entire thing is on release and reimagine. And so this week I encourage you to release any stories and beliefs you have that are scaring you, that are limiting you, that are negative in any way. Because they're stories. And imagine the life that love is waiting to live through you. Because that's what's going to happen. Love is going to live through you. And the next time your mind starts imagining all the things that could go wrong, just laugh, maybe give a little giggle, and ask instead, what if it all goes right? And so it is. So it is. Relax in your chair now. We're going to do a little meditation. I picked a daily word from November 25th, 1946, almost as old as I am. But this message is timeless, so it doesn't matter when it came. But when I speak the words in it, just take them in. Take them in. So just relax, take some deep breaths at your own pace. And take in these words. I am thankful that God is my imagination. There is within my soul a spark of the same creative fire that created and creates all things. I nurture that spark by prayer and meditation. I recognize every urge to create is coming from the source of creation, impelling me to express my own gift of talent from God. I do not stifle the creative urge saying, I can't, I have not been trained, or I can't, I have no time. I begin now to do that which I yearn to do, knowing that my desire is proof of its possibility. Age has nothing to do with it, nor previous training, nor present occupation. I listen for the inner voice to speak through my imagination. And as I become more and more closely attuned to God, the inspiration comes clearer and clearer. With creative activity comes a wonderful feeling of fulfillment and joy. I am filled with radiant joy, and at the same time, I am humbled as I realize that I am truly a channel for the expression of God. I am thankful that God is my imagination. And take 3 more deep breaths and open your eyes when you're ready. Get out there and imagine what you want.